So I'm really excited to be chatting with Dan Simonelli today. The reason I made this channel is to help you at your worst and help you get to your best so you can amaze yourself. We'll be discussing about resilience, which I think is important at both ends of the spectrum. And Dan is an excellent example of that. He's a marathon swimmer. He's done some pretty crazy swims, too many to name, but the English Channel and the Catalina Channel being two of them. He's an incredible coach. He founded the Open Water Swim Academy, and he helped me with my training plan along with Craig. So welcome.
Thank you, Matt. Good to be here.
Hopefully, I nailed that introduction.
Yeah, all good. Never quite sure what to include. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna hop right into it. One word that you said to me a lot when we were having these coaching meetings was resilience. That kept coming back up over and over again. And can you describe what that means to you and why it's so important?
Yeah, I mean, the textbook, I wrote it down, capacity to recover quickly from difficulties or toughness. And that's always stuck with me, through my adventures of really getting to a point where you can go with the punches, go with the flow and not let anything really knock you off your intended goal or the path you're on. Um, on an acute level, it's things come at you from different places unexpectedly, and it's how you react to them, and it's trying to stay focused on what you need to do at hand. And I think I've come to that in my life from mostly I think about lifeguarding when I was ocean lifeguard, and how I'm trying to anticipate things, but things don't always go as you think they would in situations. And then just taking that into the rest of my life of just trying to figure out ways to, not overreact one way or the other. So you're getting ping ponged around, and just, really stay in the moment and try to figure things out as they come, and try to adjust and react in a way that you can, keep on moving forward. Um, so, resilience pops into my head a lot, even just minute by minute on a swim, or, whether I'm swimming or helping somebody else, trying to figure out how to deal with situations as they arise.
That was excellent. Thank you. One that you said to me, like one of your coach lines that really stuck with me. So definitely use this one again. I'm not sure if you've got this one, was you can't hold two thoughts. So don't listen to your negative ones. Speak to yourself positive ones. And I thought that was such an excellent way of putting it, right? Because I think what you're thinking is really going to be connected to your resiliency. And if these kind of automatic thoughts tend to be negative, but if you take kind of control of what's going on in your mind and start speaking to those positive ones, I find that is huge for
Yeah.
resilience.
The other way I put that with people, because I do use that a lot and try to share that with people going through, just difficult swims or, difficult situations in general, is the displacement factor. So, pushing one thought out, or thinking of something else to displace the negative thought. And the more you do that, the more you train yourself to do that, the more opportunities you give yourself to train to do that, putting yourself in those situations, um, the better you get at it. It's just a mental tool and a mental game that I play. And in fact, often, uh, you know, I tell people training for long marathon swims, you got to put yourself out there in difficult situations and conditions so you can practice doing that. You have to, do that over and over again. Um, Another saying I use is familiarity breeds confidence. And as you accumulate that, in your psyche and, in your uh, different situations that different experiences that you're putting yourself through, um, the more comfortable you get. and the more comfortable you are, the more relaxed you are, and the more you can, go with the flow and deal with things as they come up and accept them, accept things that arise that are not in your favor, and try to figure your way through. And that, has become a bit of a life game as well. When shit's going down and you're freaking out about something, and just to settle down and go back to your breathing, and really try to see a way through. And to me, that's, getting through those difficulties is takes practice. And one of your questions was, is it innate or is it
Yeah, I was going to say that
developed?
segue is really nice into that.
Yeah.
How much do you think comes to sort of natural personality, and how much is that trainable? Because you mentioned, training that in your mind. How much do you think you can develop?
Yeah, I mean, without sounding like a psychoanalyst, right? It's I think there must be, some innate differences, just in, personality traits and whatnot. However, I definitely think, I mean, nurture versus nature. I definitely think that it can be and is a developed and learned uh, tool, that you can hone. And again, just from what I was saying, the more you intentionally practice that, the more the better you get at it. Um,
Yeah, I definitely
so
tend to agree with you, because I would say I was not a naturally resilient person. And uh, it's just from my own life experience. Like, I never would have imagined myself doing these swims like just 2 years ago, So to be able to have that much drastic change in just 2 years was exactly that, because I kept exposing myself to these uncomfortable situations and kind of just gradually grew my comfort zone. Um, so one is your displacement thoughts. What's another way? So I guess putting yourself in these situations. Is there any other that come up to mind on how to train resiliency?
um, watching others, I mean, really, one of the things that's, I think, been very beneficial for me is supporting all these other swimmers and seeing how all these different people coming from different backgrounds, there's so many different variables, right? And just seeing the human aspect, um, the differences and the similarities, of course, uh, and seeing how people react, see how other people deal with these situations. And so I think just being an observer and being uh, um, watchful of those things, of other people, certainly helped me in my coaching and helping others. So that's just, it reinforces itself, for me to be able to look at it for myself, extrapolate or apply it, or project it to other people, and then having that feedback loop constantly working in my head. I mean, I spend so many hours like on long swims kayaking, and I'm just watching the swimmer, and I start to notice all these little details, and see how they are reacting, and I can see things building, or both in the negative and the positive, meaning, they're getting agitated, they're um, getting uncomfortable, they're not feeling well. And then, on in the positive, where those things start to subside, they're working through it. Maybe giving them a little advice or something, and to see that go in the other direction is really cool to watch and observe.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. I think adaptability was one, especially when I was training for the cold. That was one thing I kept reflecting on. So you got physical adaptability. Like, I never thought I'd be able to swim in 55-degree water for as long as I did. But with exposing your body, crazily enough, gets used to it. But then the other thing I thought I had was social adaptability. You definitely do adapt to the people around you. And I don't have a community here in Sudbury, but I built it virtually with you and Craig and Jill, Christine. I was able to talk, John, so many amazing swimmers, and it kind of definitely sort of normalized the insanity.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, so we constantly get that, right? It's a niche sport. It's, extreme in a lot of ways. And when you are around it, that's how I came back into swimming. I just fell into this group of marathon swimmers. So it just became not that far-fetched, and not that extreme, because it was being normalized, by the people around me. So I agree with that totally.
That's awesome. Yeah. So just a huge, I think it was really helpful just that I got to talk to you and Craig once a month. That was huge because definitely I think mentally helped me get prepared for my swim. So that was absolutely huge. So thank you.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to ask you is, can you share a story? Can be either from one of your swims or as a coach, um, where you really saw resiliency come into play. I know you shared the one that pops into my mind. Share the one you want to share, but I remember your English Channel story. That's the one I remember that you shared with me. But share
Just
the one that's on your heart and mind.
Yeah, that certainly comes up for near the top five for sure. You talking about just being sick from the get-go?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, exhaust, stupid diesel exhaust.
I mean, I
Uh,
know that, so please let people watching probably don't. So fill us in, like
yeah,
what
sure. I
happened there.
mean, I had it, certainly gave you the quickie on that one, and then I had another one in my head, but um, yeah, it's just a matter of, I was all ready. I was good to go. And, I could jump in for the start of the swim, and I swim up to the boat, and it's out of position. So it revs the engine to get online. And I'm right there, at the stern. And it's just this big old plume. It's one of the older CSA boats, and big old plume of smoke. And I sucked it in on a breath, and just a big inhale. And I'm like, oh, that's probably not going
That's
to be,
not good.
that
Yeah.
didn't taste good. And sure enough, at my first feed, I just like, I don't feel too good. And then just started puking from, the first hour on. Um, and I just made myself drink water, and I knew it would subside, but talk about, you know, really having to dig down deep to not get unnerved, not think it's the end of the world, and not, the end of the swim. And I just kept on plugging along, plugging along, plugging along. And it took me about 10 hours. It ended up being about 14 half-hour swim, which was longer than, I felt like would be. And yeah, it really didn't start to subside for most of the swim until much later. So that's kind of what I would consider a mid-range test, in terms
Mid range is
of
not even
time.
the top.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of time, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
I
it was
gotcha.
really
Oh, I
elongated,
gotcha. Yeah.
right? There's the short ones where you're just dealing with something acutely, and you kind of deal with it, and it comes and goes within, minutes, or
So
maybe an hour or whatever. And then there's that long range one where you're just sustaining something for a long time. And then you just got things. I mean, I think it's silly to not, apply this to the rest of your life, right? And then you got these ongoing things that you're trying to, do, fix in your life or whatever. And it's just reoccurring things and whatnot. And the resilience of, okay, I'm going to get back into, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to, go try again. I'm going to try again. So, those are what I term, long term. But one of
can,
the,
can I interject for one second?
yeah, sure.
Well, I want to know mentally what was going on when you were puking, right? Like you're swimming and you're puking. Were
Yeah.
they talking about pulling you? Like were they
Yeah. I mean,
pulling
not
you
to
out?
me, but
Or
I
what was
knew
going
that's
on
essential.
mentally there for you to push through that?
Yeah. I mean, they weren't, to me, they weren't saying it to me directly, but one of the concerns I had in that particular case is the crew. I went, my swim went a couple days earlier than expected, just because there was availability and or the conditions are right. And so the crew I had lined up couldn't make it that early. So I had one of my best friends go or come to England, and he's not a swimmer. He's, nothing to do with, he's never been on a swim. He has nothing, but I needed crew. So he came along, and one other person, the observer. And, but I didn't really have anybody to support me, like really tell me what to do, or um, help me out in my feeds and whatnot. So I was kind of directing the show on my own.
Which is
And
hard.
I,
That's tough.
yeah, I was telling the captain, no, I'm okay, and I'm just, I'm good with this, and try to reassure them so they're not, over worried about me. I was trying to, stay
Yeah.
communicative so they're not thinking I'm really the mess that I was. And then my buddy was, the joke I tell is, he was white knuckling it on the railing for like 5-6 hours.
Oh my
I,
God.
at least 4 or 5 hours. I'm just watching him do this. He's so worried about me. And I finally told him, I said, dude, you're freaking me out. You gotta go relax. There's a beanbag on the deck. Go take a nap. And
Uh,
so you gotta stop staring at me. So, in that regard, in that story of resilience, it's, it was taking me out of my own self and having to attend to all these other things, which isn't ideal. You get the enjoyment of marathon swimming in particular, endurance sport in particular, is getting into your zone and just getting lost in it and being able to, that meditative state of, and it wasn't like that at all,
no. Okay.
literally the whole swim, and which was really a bummer in a lot of ways. Um, but
You still
the
felt
resilience of
accomplished at
this,
the end, I'm guessing, right? How did you, or were you
yeah.
too like drained? How did you feel when you finished that swim?
No, I was actually, I did, I was able, about 12 and a half hours in, I was getting close. I missed the cap the first time because I was slower than they anticipated for their judgment and for their timing. And so I missed the cap the first time, and I didn't notice that at first. It was kind of cloudy, overcast. And then I noticed it was over to my left when I stopped to look up, see, because we were kind of close to land. And I realized, oh, why is it over there? So I missed it. And so coming back, I missed it again because
Oh,
I had to
jeez.
fight. They asked me to pick up the pace
Yeah.
1/2 hour, and I was able to pick it up, and I was feeling a bit better. And then asked me to do it again, second half hour, and that a lot, I was able to cut through the current coming back and get in on the other side. And so yeah, I mean, the 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 moral of the story, is you keep on plugging away, and you can be successful. And you're only unsuccessful for the only certainty being unsuccessful is quitting, right? So I just knew, for other reasons such as I'm not coming back to do this, right?
Yeah, I'm not
There's
taking
other
another mouthful of
motivations,
diesel.
right?
Yeah.
Money, everything else. But yeah, I just kept on plugging away, and finally saw. Here's a funny part of the story. It's not really part of the resilience, but
Yeah, all
I
good.
missed the Cap Grenade twice, and but I thought, God, the sun started popping out. It was a nice day, and nice sandy Wasant Beach, and so I'm walking in. It was kind of a long walk in, and it was like a few feet deep and then a couple feet deep, and I'm looking over at the rocks over there at the point. I'm thinking, screw that, I was just all rocky, I didn't want to climb up the rocks anyway. And then all of a sudden I just trip and face plant right in the water. And later on they were saying, we thought you were joking around. But I was like, what the hell did I trip? And I look underwater, and there's one rock like a foot high,
Tripped on the
one
one rock that
rock.
was
There's
there.
no other rocks. And I tripped right over the rock, skinned my shin and
Oh,
like
jeez.
stubbed my toe. And I'm like, what the?
That
And
is related to resilience, because you just
it's so
got right
silly,
back
right?
up. Yeah.
I just instead, I'll forget the cap, forget the rocks.
Yeah.
Boom, cram my leg into the rock, the one rock, only rock around.
I want to let you share. I kind of got sidetracked by that
Yeah.
story. I want you to share the story that you were going to. What's the other example of resilience you're going to share?
Yeah, I think the other one that came to mind was swim related, um, and and it kind of morphs into what ended up being the case, and which is I'd done the island hopper swim between the 4 Channel Islands up in Santa Barbara Channel area, and swam the channel in between each of the 4 islands. So I went out to San Miguel, got in, swam between San Miguel and Santa Rosa, boated around, swam between Santa Rosa and Santa Cruz, boated around, swam between Santa Cruz and Anacapa Islands. And it was colder than I expected. It just dropped like by about 5 degrees. And, before that swim, so I wasn't really ready for that. First swim was fine. It was cold. I jumped in and I was like, ooh, that's brisk. That's on video. And, but throughout that, so I had to manage that all along the way and just deal again, just staying focused, not letting these extraneous things, mess with my head, and just stay focused on the next swim, stay focused on the next swim. And, certainly cold was a factor, but there was something that was going on with my breathing, and I had no idea. I was never experienced it before, but just feeling something weird and different. And I wasn't going to get back in for the last one. And we got to the starting point. It was dark. And I, took about an hour to just decide what I was going to do. And I decided to just go for it. And so I got in, I finished that last one, plugged through it, not feeling right. And jump ahead a few months, and I was diagnosed with metastatic melanoma.
Oh
And
my
one of them was in
God.
my lung. And
Wow.
yeah, so I realized that, um, going from the shorter term, that's what I kind of meant by a short
Hmm.
term resilience, to a longer, that was in 2018, longer period of having to really continue to plug away. And, long story short is, went through treatment. I'm still in treatment, just dealing with it, and going through that process of figuring out how I'm going to get up and go swim. And that's really has been for 4+ years now of getting up and swimming, keeping
Wow.
busy, going through the process, always in my head.
Oh no.
Shoot
The
every
conversation's
test,
good,
you
but you're
get
getting a little
tested,
choppy there.
every few months.
Sorry, I'm just gonna
Oh,
cut you back a little bit. I lost you
yeah,
for a second there.
yeah. Can you hear me now?
You're back. Yeah. I lost you just as you
Okay.
were kind of in a nice moment there, unfortunately.
We'll leave off.
I'm still unfortunately
Oh,
having
I
some
see that.
issues.
Yeah, your internet connection is unstable. How is it now?
An hour good. I'll
Okay.
try to edit that
Yeah,
out
I
if I
know.
can.
Okay.
Put my editing
Um,
skills to the test.
yeah. Um, yeah, just continue, waiting, left off with waiting for, and just waiting for the next thing to happen, next thing to happen. And, I think, maybe you don't, but, I was clear for those couple years, and then boom, I had to have brain surgery, I had a brain tumor. So
Oh my
it,
God. I didn't
yeah,
know
so
any of
that
this.
was just last year, last March, April. And so striving to get back from that, really, it's kind of like I was, somewhat jokingly, but it seems to be the case, is I was preparing for this, right? All the swimming, my life in general of trying to manage that resilient nature, or learned behavior, and coming back to it constantly when I don't feel good. I don't feel like getting in the water. I don't feel like getting up. Um, I don't, I'm headaches and nausea, and one of the things I really wanted to emphasize with part of the story is the empathy factor and my realization to get out of my own head and my own myopic uh, thinking is so many people have chronic issues they're dealing with. And it started, allowing me to realize that so many people are going through stuff and get my, self out of my own head and just to keep on pushing forward, just to keep on, getting back in the water. It could be short. Haven't been able to go long for quite a while now, long swims, but getting back in the water, keep on testing myself, keep on pushing a little bit, and that resilience that comes from practicing that, when things are come hit me from the side, or unknown um, um, adversity. I think it's just served me well in that regard to not completely freak out or throw in the towel, and because certainly those things come up fairly often. And displacement factor, right? I think about other things, get busy living or get busy dying. I get busy with things, and it just changes my focus. And inevitably, that turns into action and taking this, moving forward, keep on progressing, like we say in swims, just keep on moving forward, make progress. And so that's why I'm wearing my Swim Across America shirt. And
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I
uh,
didn't know this part of you, Dan. This is crazy. It's
yeah, I
um
don't I don't broadcast it. It's just hasn't been, I've said in some other interviews and whatnot, and it come up. I raised a lot of money, in particular for my island hopper swim for Swim Across America and some other relays. Um, Kind of ironic. I was involved with Swim Across America before and doing relays and stuff, and fundraisers for Catalina channel, English channel. And then I became a part of it more than I expected.
well,
Um,
it's an incredible story of resilience, both swimming and out of the water as well. Thank you so much for opening up about that. I'm loving this discussion. Unfortunately, we got to wrap up for
oh
time,
yeah,
because I could keep going forever. Um, but I'll hand the mic to you. Just give you another 2 minutes to kind of sum up your thoughts, and after you're done, just if people want you as a coach, or if people want to reach out to you, if you're comfortable with that, how can they get in contact with you? Also, just to sum up your thoughts in 2 minutes there on whatever you want to talk about.
yeah, puts me on the spot here on summary. We said a lot, and I think for our discussion here with resilience is just to reiterate that I have a note here that you just keep pushing yourself through challenging circumstances and keep purposely putting yourself in uncomfortable situations so you become more comfortable with them. And I think that's what really allows people to do these crazy endurance sport things, and certainly you can extrapolate that to other parts of your life. But yeah, for one of the things I think I've been good at and helped people with my coaching and supporting other swimmers and so forth is to really relate that aspect of challenge and action, and not allowing the reaction chaos to ensue. And because a lot of people have said, I've gotten the feedback, from all different independent people. Dan, you just always seem so calm and cool and collect, and I work on that. I'm not going to show that, outwardly to people, and so I really think that helps people when they're in this type of scenario or adventure, that they feel calmed by that. They feel uh, um, um, supported by that. And so I really feel, confident and good about that I can be that for people. So
Well,
it's
you've been
been
that for me, so a huge thank you. It's okay. Hopefully, you do have the
well,
people where you can let the guard down, so I think that's important too, with your close, intimate circle, obviously. Um, I I just, like I said, my purpose is to be a light, and I found the best way is to be a mirror. So I'm going to try to, hopefully, you can listen back to this episode. You can see how awesome you are. And I always like finishing with giving 3 compliments uh, of words that I associate with people. So for you, number one is definitely resilience. That's why I had you as a guest. That one's easy. Number two would be positivity. You always have a big smile when we chat. You're always ready to laugh. One of the first things you said when I met you, I was a little nervous the first time I met you. I said, "Do you think I'll be swimming too much?" And you very just casually laughed it off. You said, "Of course you're going to be swimming too much. Like this is what you're signing up for." So it's just an easy way to make me feel comfortable and get laughing right away. And yeah, it's positivity. And number three would be growth, not just your own. Like I think you're committed to your own growth through your swimming journey and through your personal journey, but I think what you do as a coach and a supporter, all these kayak runs that you do, just being beside people, you help other people grow, including myself. So, like I said, you are awesome. I hope that you can listen to this episode and see how you're awesome. I hope that Dan's words helped you develop a little resiliency so you can amaze yourself. Thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate
amaze
it.
yourself. I like that, Matthew. All
Yeah.
right. Thanks, buddy. It's good to see you.
Thank you.